Hello, my friend. Thank you for joining me and taking part in this short session on the Dental Practice Optimizer. This is an assessment that I use for the practices that I work with that helps you sort of understand where you are where it comes to the patient experience that you are delivering, and therefore helps you understand the minor changes or maybe big changes that you can make that will take your patient experience to the next level. So welcome to the video again. Pat yourself on the back for being here, and let's get to work. My name is Juan Acosta from hypnodontist.com, and I am the natural comfort specialist. I am a hypnotist by trade, and just by chance, I ended up being a dental office manager and then a patient coordinator. And after that, I have worked with hundreds and hundreds of dental professionals in all roles of the practice to help them improve the patient experience and the joy that they experience at the practice. Because if you think about dentistry, it's a stressful field, right? We know, because we are in the field, that there is a lot of talk about stress levels of dental professionals and suicide rates and all these things surrounding mental health. Well, what if I told you that you don't have to practice with stress? In fact, one of the best bits of feedback that I've received about one of my courses is, I can't believe that I can practice dentistry without stress. I didn't know I could do that. That was from a dentist in Canada who took one of my classes and just went and understood that building that relationship with their patients is a lot more fun than just being a provider. So I'd like to aim at you understanding that and sort of grabbing that same idea of just building relationships with your patients, becoming friends with your patients. And it all starts with a little bit of a self-assessment to optimize yourself. If you think about what the word optimize means, it doesn't mean that you're doing something wrong. It actually means that you're doing a lot of things right. And you want to do the optimal. You want to do just a little bit more to make them just shine a little bit better. So that's what this Dental Practice Optimizer is about. I don't need you to read onto it and look at the form and decide, wow, he's really digging on me, I'm doing badly here. I need you to do this as a self-assessment. You need to do this as a self-assessment, because this is not for me. This is for you to improve your patient experience so that you can have a more joyful career and a more enjoyable profession. You want that, don't you? I do. I want that for you. So if you'd like, go ahead and download this form, which is the Dental Practice Optimization Assessment, and you can do that at hypnodontist.com/optimize. Optimize, just a word with a Z, in case you're in the UK. It's not with an S. It's spelled the American way. All right, the Dental Practice Optimization Assessment is a 2-page form that I use with the practices that I begin to work with, so that we can all understand where we are at the moment, and that's the best way to actually know where we can go, right? The best way to improve performance is to measure performance. Do you remember, I think this was Dale Carnegie back in How to Win Friends and Influence People. He said, when performance is measured, performance increases. And the way that he illustrated this was with a story about a factory, I think it was a steel mill or something along those lines, where the manager went around and figured out the production numbers for the day, and then in big chalk he wrote a big number of however much they had produced for the day. I don't remember the details, just kind of grasped the idea. People were asking, well, what is that number? Well, that's our production number for today. That's how much we produced. Well, guess what that did? That made people in the factory continue to work at that level or more, because, well, we see the number there. We have to at least reach it or beat it, right? So if you think about that, when performance is measured, performance increases. That's what this is about. This is about understanding, again, not blaming yourself. Oh my gosh, I'm so bad at this. I'm terrible. I'm going to quit dentistry. But rather, you know what? This is a place that is actually a challenge for me. How can I make it better? What are the things that I can do today to make it better? Because I guarantee you that any issue that you have in your practice that seems insurmountable, that seems huge, can be fixed starting with small steps. Small steps to fixing a big issue add up a lot. And you know what they say, that the first step to fixing an issue is knowing that you have a problem. Well, that's what this assessment is for. It's about understanding where you are right now and knowing that you can begin to improve from there for wherever you are. you could already be delivering at a high level and then do this form, go through this form and realize, well, you know what? There are a couple of things that I could do a little bit differently that might work well for my practice. So if you have downloaded the form, I'm going to go ahead and go through the sections real quickly just to introduce you to it. And again, this is a self-assessment. It is just for you, so it's for you to understand yourself and your feelings about your profession and how you should approach your patient experience. And maybe it'll give you some ideas about how to do it in an improved way, or maybe you'll be like, looking at it and go, wow, we're really doing well. This is actually below the standard that we already offer. You know, whatever you find yourself in that process is going to be useful for you to self-assess. So the first two sections here are mirror sections. They are for the top 3 strengths and challenges in your practice. Again, the first step to fixing any problem is knowing that you have a problem. So if you can rank those up here on your strengths, you know what you do well, and you can rank those down here on the challenges, you know which of those things can be issues for you. For example, you might be great at getting prospective patients to call. Like I had this one practice that I worked with early on in my dental career that was really, really good about sending phone calls to us. I mean, tons of phone calls would come every day. But the team wasn't really that good at converting those phone calls into appointments, right? So if you know those things, if you have identified those issues, then it's easy to understand where you actually need the training to fill any of those holes that you might have. So those first 2 sections, just go ahead and take a look at them at your own time or right now, and you can rank those strengths and challenges in your own way. Now, moving on to what best describes the patient experience at your office. This is a subjective patient experience assessment by you with some of my words. Basically, if you can look at that section, it has 4 different styles of patient experience, ranging from that one office down at the bottom where they don't care how comfortable you are. They're just knowing that you're here to get a service done and they're here to give you a service, which is an actual story. This is an actual doctor that I talked to, and I say, well, don't you care about your patients being comfortable? He said, no, I don't care. They're here to get a service done that they need done, and I'm here to do it. And to me, if you're that kind of a hard dentist, please change, because that's what's not allowing the profession of dentistry, the perception in the public of dentistry to improve. And we can all win when the perception of dentistry improves, right? A rising tide lifts all boats, and this is one very good example of that. Think about the difference between that doctor that I just referred to, that I don't care how comfortable they are, the difference between that doctor and a doctor that comes to one of my practices. And by the way, when I say my practices, I'm not a doctor. I'm talking about one of the practices that I work with. Comes to one of my practices, and in the moment they come in, they're greeted, they're handed a nice patient comfort intake to understand their experiences and their preferences, and they're taken through a process in a nice and gentle way, and they feel at the end like they were cared for, like they were in a day at the spa. So much so that they say so. So many times I've had the experience of greeting the patient after they're done with their appointment and they come back to the front desk and going, hey, Mary, how was your experience? And Mary will go, oh my gosh, it was great. You guys are more like a spa than a dentist. I'm telling you, this is a common experience. So if you want that kind of a common experience that maybe is uncommon in your practice right now, that's the experience that will actually get you testimonials. That's the experience that gets you referrals. Because guess what? When that patient that just thought it was a day at the spa is out there living their life, and their neighbor goes, oh my God, I have a crown that just broke, they'll go, I have just the person. I have just the dentist to send you to, because they are confident that you are going to deliver a great experience, right? So this subjective experience is kind of like that. Look at what it says, understand it, and mark where you are right now. And maybe you can look at it again with the eyes of possibility as to what things you might do that are simple changes that you can effect tomorrow, right away when you get to your office, and that will create a big difference for you. Okay, the next section is what feeling best describes you personally. And this is about your feelings with dentistry and about your profession. And think about it for yourself. Why did you get into the profession? Did you get into it because of just money? Like, I know where I can make a living and I don't care about people? Or did you get into it maybe because of money, but then you realize, wow, this is an important responsibility and I do care about people. And now you have a nice balance that you have to contend with. Well, that's what this section is about. Which feeling base describes you personally? And it goes from I love dentistry and enjoy my work, my patients and coworkers and team thoroughly, goes all the way to I wish I could leave dentistry. Okay, so assess yourself and figure out where you are. Is it time for a career change? I hope not. I hope that this is time for you to be motivated about the improvement that you can make in dentistry with simple changes again. All right, let's move on to the next page. On the back of this, it says, which best describes the relationship between your team and your patients? If you hear me talk at any time, you're going to hear me talk about building the relationship with your patients to turn them from a drive-by patient to lifetime patient. That's one of the key items that I speak about all the time. So this, of course, takes you from a different range of options on the way that you build relationship with your patients, right? There are, again, those practices that I don't care how comfortable they are. And when you come in, they just greet you in that way and it's pretty cold. And then you sit in the chair and then the doctor does his work and goes away without even saying goodbye. And then when you're about to leave, you realize, doctor didn't even say bye. And there is a difference between that kind of relationship with the patient that is very standoffish and it feels very clinical. And then there's also the very other end of the spectrum where it's very familiar and it actually feels like a spa, right? So between both ends of the spectrum, I'm not saying you have to go to the extreme in any of them, but think about what it does do. And then the next section here is which best describes your relationship among team members and doctors. So this is your internal work. How is that relationship internally working? Is there a little bit of bickering maybe behind the desk that your patients can see or hear while they are sitting in the waiting room? Do your ideals and your values match with your doctors? Is it, and vice versa, right? Is it all together a good working experience? Because your patients are very intuitive and they feel that, they recognize that, they understand that if they get there and the team's not quite working, they feel that tension and they know that that tension is going to trickle down to them. And that is never good. Again, I'm issuing that challenge for you to go through this experience and actually take your time answering these questions, thinking about it for yourself, maybe even walking through your office from the front door, feeling the experience and getting to understand what your patients are going through. All right. The next section is for a subjective self-evaluation where you get to write down some stuff. I want to remind you, this page, this assessment is strictly for you. You can be as honest as you possibly want to be on this form. Now, if you want to send this form to me for me to take a look and give you some specific tips, or maybe even set up a free lunch and learn for your practice and for your team, we can certainly do that, and the instructions for doing that are at the bottom of that page. But until you send that to me, or unless you send that to me, this sheet is just for you. And if you think about it, a lot of times we get into a profession because we think it's going to be one thing, and what we get is something completely different. This will help you figure out if you are in fact in the right profession, and I hope that you are. And in many cases, if things aren't working quite well, if you're not firing on all cylinders, if you will, it may be because of some simple thing that you could easily change if you just get prompted about it. Okay, so just go through all these with an open mind of, well, how is my experience at the practice actually? The 3 sections down here for self-evaluation are, in your opinion, where does your office or team need most help? What is the easiest, best thing about dentistry? And what is the hardest and worst thing about dentistry? So this is for you to sort of have a heart-to-heart with yourself and get to understand where you stand. You like that? And then there's another section for just questions, comments, or anything else you would like to consider. Again, if you'd like to send me this, just take a photo of it with your phone. It's very simple. This is not very official. and send it to me. The instructions are right at the bottom. If you don't want to send it to me, don't send it to me. Just use it as a self-assessment to help yourself. Now, let me share with you a few more things that you have received. If you downloaded this form, you probably noticed that it's an entire handout with a few different files. Inside those files, there's the patient comfort intake, which is another presentation available here or elsewhere on my website or other platforms, where you can basically have an unbranded patient comfort intake that you can use with your patients right away, that will help give you ideas and guidance as to their preferences and their wants and needs where it comes to their comfort and their past experiences. All great things to learn. There's also a couple of hypnotic techniques for dental professionals, which are very simple NLP-based techniques, neuro-linguistic programming-based techniques that take about 5 to 7 minutes when you get to do them proficiently, and they actually help your patient change their state like that. So a patient that comes in, oh my God, I'm freaking out about needles, you can take them through a simple process, 5 to 7 minutes, and they will be fine to have treatment or to sit in the chair and have a cleaning or whatever it is that you need done. So the hypnotic technique outlines, that is two basically outline techniques that you can again learn from in another one of these videos. This I'm taking them piece by piece, but these are all part of my patient experience blueprint presentation, which, by the way, you have the handout. The patient experience blueprint presentation is the one that starts with a triangle and it has a few frameworks. There is also a video for that. And last but not least, there is a referral form. This is an actual hypnosis prescription form for your patients who are grinding their teeth. For example, if you give them a bite guard, instead of just giving them a bite guard and saying, good luck, there is something for your symptom, say, here's something for your symptom, your bite guard, and if you'd like, here's a prescription for a hypnotist, me hopefully, but anybody locally would be fine as well, that can help you with the underlying issues, because teeth grinding comes down to internal conflicts and stress. So I can help your patients relieve that, and they will stop breaking the teeth that you're making for them. So hypnosis prescription form, you can see the array of services that are offered, and those are hypnotherapeutic services. So that is everything that is included in the handout, and what I'd like for you to do is to think about what happens now. Because the first step, of course, is to go to your office and take this challenge, right? To go through your patient experience, understanding what it is that your patient is feeling, and marking things down on this page so you can actually make some way. Well, what now is to actually make a commitment to make those small changes that you have identified so you can turn those patients into the lifetime patient. So what I'd suggest for you to do is right now, just with me for a moment, just think about what's going to happen in the next few days, in the next few weeks, in the next few months in your practice. Imagine having filled this out so thoroughly and having really paid attention to those things that are going to make a difference in your practice. And imagine going to your office for the next few days and making just a little bit of progress. And then the next few days after that, making more progress. And that progress compounding upon each other, building up onto a big effect of your practice beginning to work a little bit more like a Swiss clock, if you know what I mean. So I want to encourage you to, as you go through this page, think about those action items that you are willing to take action upon, right? And actually make a commitment to yourself that you're going to take this and think about it as a to-do list. So that what if in a month from now or 6 months from now, you notice, you look at your books and you go, wow, look at what's happened. Look at the number of referrals we're getting. Look at how little we're spending on advertising. Look how many people are staying with us. Our case acceptance has improved. Look how many people are showing up to their appointments because we have improved the patient experience. This all ties together with the communication style, the seeds that you plant, the relationship that you build with your patients and within your team. If you go to a practice, and I'll tell you, I've been this patient that has gone to a practice and has not felt quite right about the way they handle things. Even though I'm in dentistry and I understand how things work, I didn't feel right and I jumped ship. After getting a treatment plan and getting my first sort of bit of treatment done, I jumped ship and I went somewhere else. Even though I had paid to get part of the treatment there, I went somewhere else because I didn't like the way I was treated. I'm with another practice right now. I'm very happy with them, and I'm actually working with them as a consultant, and I love them. You know, I love working with a practice that is doing well and wants to improve on their strengths and understands also that they have some challenges and is willing to make a commitment to make even small changes to create that big effect. Now, you can start with my book as well, Hypnodontics, which you can find on Amazon, and it will give you a crash course on neurolinguistic programming and hypnotic language, where it relates to dental professionals and specifically dental practice managers, because that's how I started. And when I wrote the book, I didn't have all that experience, but I did have a really good amount of experience on getting patients convinced to actually show up to their appointment. So if you're having any issues with no calls and no shows and that sort of stuff, then the book is for you. Now, if you'd like any help with implementation, of course, if you'd like me to offer you a free lunch and learn for your team, then the instructions again are on the bottom of this page of the DPO assessment, and you can just send them to me and we'll start that way. Thank you again for taking part in this short training. I hope you enjoyed it and you found it fruitful, and please do direct your questions to me. I am always happy to help. You can send them to Juan@hypnodontist.com and find me at hypnodontist.com. Thanks again, and I look forward to seeing you soon. Bye for now.